Good morning. This is the JP Dinnell Podcast, episode 75. I am JP Dinnell, and always I have Lucas with me. Today, I'm excited that Lucas and I get to sit down with one of my friends, Father Stokes. I first met Father Stokes at an Echelon Front muster in 2021 in Orlando. It's been really cool to see him at all these events over the years. The Echelon Front's been doing not just only the muster, but different events that Echelon Front does, as well as his Jiu-Jitsu game, seeing him getting into the game of Jiu-Jitsu. He was at immersion camp, has been able to come to a few of the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu events. So, yeah, I think, man, I'm just stoked that you're able to be here. How are you?
Awesome. Thanks for having me, JP.
Let's go, my man. Lucas, how are you?
I feel like I'm in the middle of a joke that I don't know the punchline for. Like a priest, a pastor, and a Navy SEAL walk into a podcast studio. So I'm excited, man. Stokes and I have gotten to build a little bit of a relationship over the last couple of years. We're both in that EO Academy every Monday. So it's been fun. It's cool.
Awesome. Jason, as I know you by.
Yep.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Alliance, Ohio, about 15 minutes from Canton, Ohio, the Football Hall of Fame.
Okay. How long did you live in that area? Were you there your whole life, or did you move around?
Till I was 12.
Okay.
And then when I was 12, which would have been, sorry to say this, 1989, my dad took a job at Lehigh University in the Lehigh Valley, Allentown, Bethlehem area of Pennsylvania. Took a job at Lehigh University there, and so we moved to that area. And my mom is still in the house that mom and dad bought back then.
Wow, that's really cool. That is awesome. What was childhood like for you?
It was pretty good. You know, we very heavy into sports. I have a sister who is 2 years older, and I have a twin brother. And my dad was an athlete his whole life. Played baseball for Penn State. Started third base, batted cleanup as a freshman.
You know, Brent's going to be happy for this.
Yeah, no joke.
And he would have been a career minor league baseball player. He had the nickname Flash, but that would be where we would be called JP. We'd be called Tiny, like that type of a thing for Flash. And back then, you couldn't really work with guys to get them quicker. Back in the early 70s, if you were stuck at that speed, and so he would never have made the majors. And he said, "I don't want to have that for a family." So, my mother Kay, his high school sweetheart, they married after college.
That's so cool.
And then moved out to Ohio and.
Awesome.
Had Aaron, my sister, then Jared and I 2 years later, and grew up, like I said, doing sports, baseball, basketball all the time.
Did you grow up in church?
Absolutely.
Okay.
My brother and I were the altar servers that always got called for doing funerals and weddings, and we loved it. We loved doing funerals because you got paid $10. And you're in second, third grade. You're getting a tenner, and you're getting out of class.
Yep,
dude, there's nothing like that.
And in 1989, $10 went a long way.
Well, this was before that too. I mean, we're talking like probably 86. Yeah.
Oof.
So.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and
I didn't even know my first word by 86, but I was getting there. I was a quick learner.
Young.
Yeah.
We. My mom was an extraordinary minister of Holy Communion. For those that aren't Catholic, and I know many aren't that are probably listening, for those that are sick and cannot come to church, to bring the Eucharist, Holy Communion out to them, either in the home, hospital, or nursing homes.
Oh, wow.
Mom would do that, and she would take the three of us, the three kids, and we would go to nursing homes. And they are not some of the nice ones you go to now. They're the ones you can smell in your car.
Yeah.
When you're getting out of the car, and it was sad.
No, it sucks.
But I look back now and realize that was very formative for what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
My dad was a reader for Mass, a lector. And I remember our baseball team in uniform lined up in the first pew, and because it was the school team, go to Mass Sunday morning, and then we head to the field for our game. But we would always be at Mass.
That's cool. Any major events happen as a youth that you think shaped who you are or put you in the right direction, or did you just have an overall just pretty steady life growing up? You know, because sometimes like people have like something crazy happen to them and it changes the way they think about life and do things, or you just
nothing crazy or traumatic.
Okay.
Just those activities with going to the nursing homes.
Yeah.
That was very, like I said, that change. Got to see people as people and realize that these people might not have anybody to visit them, care for them, love them.
That's a really good perspective that I think a lot of people, we don't realize that those are important things for our kids to see.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. I like that. I love that your mom did that. It just shows her heart.
And my parents are both converts. My dad grew up Lutheran, and my mother was Presbyterian. Mm-hmm. They're pretty much Presbyterian because that was a church they could walk to. My mom's family was poor.
Okay.
My mom's father did not graduate high school. He had polio, and with polio, 17, could carry a gun and enlisted for World War II.
My man.
And went in the Army, and he was a guard at a Allied POW camp in Germany. My mom's mom was she graduated high school and worked in the cafeteria for the high school, worked in like some department stores and stuff. But they had I don't think they realized how poor they were till they were older. And I think that's most of us, really, actually. But like their Christmases would be at her and her sister, were a dress, crayons, and coloring book. That was,
and it didn't matter to them.
No, because it was all family love. I mean,
well, that's what. We're not going to open that door right now, but that's what it should be about, not about this Hallmark holidays that they've created. It's like no, like if we think about what the true meaning of these times are, like we've gotten so far away from that.
And my mom, when she went to college, to Ryder, she was the first in the family to graduate college. And she went to Mass with her roommate and sorority sister. And they ended up, she said that this is where I'm supposed to be at the Catholic Church. And my dad had just said, please wait till we get married and move out to Ohio, because his family being Lutheran, just to smooth things over. And they're all cool with it now. I mean,
I just
back
chuckle
then,
because
but so I didn't know this until I had to get the paperwork for the seminary. But I didn't know I was baptized at St. Paul's Evangelical Lutheran Church. I figured I was baptized at Regina Chaley Church, Catholic Church in Alliance, Ohio, with my parish growing up. But my parents didn't convert till the Easter of when my brother and I were born.
Okay,
gotcha.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's weird hearing you talk about your grandfather, dealing with polio, because that's not something we think about anymore. Because the polio vaccine in like Jonas Salk, I think in 1952, is when the polio vaccine was seen as effective and was widely distributed. But before then, that's like polio was massive, and it affected a tremendous amount of people's lives all across the United States then. And so him, being in the situation that he's in order to not just like get accepted doing things in World War II and then to start your family, man, that's a wild thing to think about, to put into perspective, because 15 years later, he would have never had that issue. Right.
Yeah. And he was in the body cast. I mean, it was one of those that it was, yeah, that's why he had to drop out of high school.
Yeah.
He worked hard. I mean, wasn't book educated,
right?
But he was a good man that took care of his family. And I think when my mom was 18, then they had the later child, my uncle then. And so, but yeah, so we out in Ohio, going to Catholic school out there. Never really at that time my parents never once said, hey, you should be a priest, or to my brother or myself, ever thought about it. But it was just that it always reminds me back to St. Francis of Assisi, who's famous for many things, of course, but saying, preach always, but when you must, use words. They lived the life instead of speaking the life. And Pastor Lucas, how many times can you tell us how important that is? I mean, and JP, as a father yourself, I mean, you tell your kids
involved in helping a few different ministries, like it's how we live our lives. Yeah, that's awesome. So at what point did you figure out that you wanted to go into the priesthood?
No, and one that I knew versus wanted to were at least 10 years apart.
Oh, okay.
I remember, so we moved to Ohio and we went to Bethlehem Catholic High School, and there was a priest there. He's one of my good friends. He was taught us, and he's blind. Only teacher in the school that could tell my brother and I apart, and he was blind. Oh. Because I guess our voices are a little different.
Yeah.
But
are you guys identical twins?
No, but we look
very
lot,
similar.
I'll have to show you a picture.
Okay.
Lot more than Nola and Cora look.
Oh yeah.
One's not redhead, one's not.
Yeah, one's redhead, blonde.
Yeah, so
I love when people are like, "Are they identical?" And I'm like, "I don't think you understand what that word means."
But we're both bald for Jared and I.
That's awesome. All right, so I interrupted you. I apologize. So 10-year difference.
Father Izaki would say to us, "Do you ever think about being a priest? And you should be looking into this." And we did a lot of stuff at high school with helping out with mass and things like that, setting stuff up. Of course, still very involved with sports. But the bishop at the time, Bishop Welsh, would have guys from the high school, the chaplains bring guys over to the bishop's residence for dinner. We didn't know this was for vocations. We're like, yeah, I'll go to the bishop's house and hang out. That's pretty cool. The bishop knows who I am. That's pretty. when you're freshman, sophomore in high school, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. He'd come to the high school then for the yearly mass, and he'd be like, "Hi, Jason. Hi, Jared. Hi, Tom." Like the guys that would come. That's awesome. So, and I remember kneeling during mass, junior high school and in high school. The priest elevates the host, the Eucharist, and getting this overwhelming feeling. That's what you're called to do. This is why I made you. And immediately saying, "No, I want money and I want women." Now, I know you guys aren't Catholic, but guess what? 2 things don't come with my life. Is that not the greatest answer?
That's brilliant. I love it.
That goes into what I said to your daughter today. So
awesome.
So we were together for a Jiu-Jitsu, Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu seminar earlier today, and JP's daughter, Cora's having fun, just joking around and screwing around and stuff. And JP's wife, Amanda's there. And I said to Amanda, the more I hang out with your daughters, the more I thank God for the gift of celibacy. And she had no clue what that meant. Like, Amanda died laughing. For those that don't, and you might not, celibacy means I will not get married. I will not have children.
Yeah.
So,
Because you're not doing the thing that allows you to have children.
Exactly.
Now, we have some children listeners, so they can ask their parents about that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
But I love the way you framed that. Okay.
But Cora was very confused, which made it even better because I think Amanda appreciated it more.
Oh, that's amazing. Nice. That is absolutely amazing.
So,
oh man.
So I kept pushing it off, even though I was still very active. Then after high school, went to Lehigh University, which is where my dad worked.
Okay.
And I joined a fraternity. Still friends with a lot of the guys there. And we would do fraternity things. Yeah. I mean, drinking and hanging out and doing the guy things. Yeah. My dad was our faculty advisor for the fraternity. He'd come especially when we have like the softball teams and stuff and sports, he'd be playing with us.
That's awesome.
But I would still go to mass. Saturday, I'd go to the 5:15 mass at Holy Infancy Church right next to Lehigh, then go down to the fraternity and do my thing down there. So I was still very active. It wasn't like I got away from it.
Yeah.
Then after college, graduated Lehigh in 2000, and I went to work for KPMG, which is at the time, Big 5, now Big 4 accounting firm.
Oh, cool.
Headquartered, I was in the office in Philadelphia, and I worked for them for about a year and a half. And as I was talking to the partner and senior manager on the main account that I was on, and they're telling me what my plan is for next year and the year after, and realizing the positions I'm going to be stepping into, I did not see one pro football game that year. And of course, my team's the Philadelphia Eagles, world champion Philadelphia Eagles. I had to put that in.
Congratulations.
That just had the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when the refs turned on the Kansas City Chiefs.
I for those that in this Dallas area, I know we haven't had one of those in 30-some years. But
it's been a few days.
It's been a while.
Rough times here,
yes.
But everybody gets a drought every now and then. Ours just lasted a lifetime.
A lot longer than most.
Yeah.
Similar to the Bears?
Setting up for a comeback.
Pretty much.
Guess so.
No, the Bears have actually been to the Super Bowl since the last time that the Cowboys were. It's been that bad. We're more like the Cubs.
Yeah. Not quite to the Red Sox, how they were, until they finally broke the curse of the Bambino, but getting there.
Maybe that's what the Mavericks are going to be now that they traded Luka.
That could be.
Who knows?
But so
JP's slowly losing interest in
I know.
Zero clue
his own
what you guys are
podcast.
talking about. But I believe you guys, and I'm interested.
So I wasn't able to see one because every Sunday I was in the office.
Ooh.
And I saw the senior manager, the partner, and some others. They're all divorced.
You weren't just streaming the games on your computer.
This wasn't streaming time, young man. This was 2000, 2001.
Gotcha.
It was, right after 9/11, it was hard to get on the internet because it was being blown up. No pun intended.
Yeah, you're just different time, and you just saw that like, hey, this is not a life that I want to have.
Well, and so I left them, but went to work for one of our clients,
Okay.
LA weight loss centers. Not as the before picture, but as I went there to create and run their internal audit department.
Okay.
And it was headquartered in Horsham, PA. They did not have one center in Los Angeles. LA was just the name of it because who would want to go to Horsham weight loss? It was all marketing it was all marketing for LA weight loss.
That's interesting.
And so
Smart.
when I got there were 6 between the franchised and the corporate owned centers. There were 650 centers, and they didn't have an internal audit department. And so, I was there, and when I got there, and I was there for 3 years till I entered the seminary. And when I left, there were about 10 people in my department. And I was the first auditor they had.
Wow.
And
what'd you learn there?
I learned how to treat people, how not to treat people.
Yeah.
That just because somebody can sell doesn't mean they can manage.
Preach.
I know, isn't that the truth? Like,
Preach.
someone's a great salesperson in this center, so we're now going to make them a manager of the center, and now they get fired 3 months later. Well, that's not their fault.
Yeah, there's no skill set development, no training, no leadership development. Okay.
Was able to uncover a 6-figure fraud theft going on and get it stopped, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
incredible. Thank God it was all pled down, and so I had to go to the preliminary hearing, but when we walked in, all of a sudden then it got waived and changed to worked with the DA to
That's crazy.
So
Side note, did you ever watch the movie The Accountant?
I love it.
I
Ben
figured
Affleck.
That's one of my
They're coming out with the second one. They're coming out with
I
another
hope
one.
it's as good.
So do I.
Never seen it,
Oh,
but I've heard great things.
you got to see it.
It is. Yes.
Well,
that's
you
the
would
one.
look accounting and sniper. What?
And I love numbers.
Yeah.
I love numbers and accounting type of stuff.
Yep.
Like I love that stuff. Okay. Anyways, so you worked there for 3 years, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I, starting early 2004, I was really getting the feeling there's more, and I was good at what I did. I loved what I did. I was making 6 figures.
Jeez. That's good.
Yeah, I was doing well, and I'm talking like I'm 4 years out of college. I was doing well, but it was like I couldn't figure out and put my finger on what it was. And there's 3 things I've always loved: military, politics, and the church.
Okay.
I was speaking with recruiters for OCS
Nice.
for the Navy
Yeah.
because there's only, why would you go the best?
Exactly. I agree.
Then I was also talking about looking at politics. When I was in college, I was the president of the College Republicans at Lehigh. Enjoyed that. I worked for a guy running for Congress when I was there. He didn't win, but I enjoyed politics. And then, like I said, the church. And finally it was like I got smacked up the head. Duh, dummy. I've been here the whole time. Why won't you say yes?
That's awesome.
And so I finally said yes, contacted the vocations office for the Archdiocese of Philadelphia because I was living in Philadelphia, Archdiocese, and did a weekend there, did all the stuff, and I started the paperwork. I said, yeah, this is what I want to do. Didn't tell my parents or anybody in my family until I needed information on family medical history because I was 27 at the time. I wanted it to be my decision.
Yeah.
Not mom's,
Yep.
not dad's, not yes or no, either way. but that it was my decision. When I finally told them, they were very supportive, and my mom even said, I always thought one of my boys would become a priest. Never said it to us, but but I don't think they wanted to force anything.
Yeah.
It was tough telling some certain people. It was really hard telling my boss at work, because I thought if I went in there and said, this is what I'm doing, he would say, this is stupid, because it's business, business, business. My boss was the chief financial officer.
Yeah.
So
most CFOs, unless they've had some really good life experience or they've been trained up properly, don't handle those types of conversations the right way, because almost everything for them is black and white.
Yeah. And I was surprised how well it was handled. Like, they were all very gracious. They even, from the corporate office there down the street, there was a Chili's restaurant, and they rented it out on my last day to throw me a little party going away. It was really kind. I was shocked. I was surprised. That was very, very generous.
It's very generous of them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it just shows the value that you brought to that organization, though.
I think so.
And the relationships that you had.
And that's what I was gonna say. The relationship. They gave me some gag gifts. Like, they gave me a book. The whatever, Excel for Dummies.
Yeah.
There's a Catholicism for Dummies.
Oh, nice.
One of the authors is a priest from the Diocese of Harrisburg, which is just to the west of where I live. I ended up entering the seminary for the Diocese of Allentown, Pennsylvania, because that's where I'm from. And so but they gave me they gave me a CD, burnt CD of Metallica songs that have anything to do about God in it, because I'm a big Metallica fan. Yeah. I'm a hard rock fan. Pastor Lucas and I were the two metal pastors here.
That's amazing.
But it was just very kind of them. I remember I had to get 2 letters of recommendation from Catholics that are not related to me, plus from my pastor, who that was no problem. And one of the guys that I did was a fraternity brother, and I was in his wedding, read the reading at his mass first, right? And I remember going over to talk to him and his wife, and I sat down and I said, "Got to talk to you." And so we walked over, and it was a Sunday night. We were watching The Simpsons, and so when it was over, he turned it. I said, "Can we turn it?" Yeah. And his wife Melissa said, "Do I need to leave the room?" No, you can stay. And I told him that I'm entering the seminary. I think I'm being called by God to become a priest, and I would like you to write me a letter of recommendation. And he just sat there with his jaw on the floor, and so did she. And after about 20 seconds, she jumped up and gave me a hug because she didn't know what to do. It was awkward. And then, but he said, I'm shocked but not surprised. He goes, I can see it, but it was just in the moment. When I said I had to come over and talk to them, they actually thought I was sick or something like that. They didn't know what was going on. And the other one I got was from a lady I had worked with. She had worked at LA Weight Loss Centers, but then when she left, then we were kind of dating. And when I told her, that was tough because I know where that relationship could have gone. Had I not. And she was very wonderful. We still talk. She's married with a daughter now, but we're friends. So
that's interesting. Yeah. That's really cool that how you were able to navigate that. That must have been hard at times.
It was. One of the great lines in Scripture is, "Don't worry when the time comes of what to say. The Holy Spirit will speak for you." Mm-hmm. When I was in the seminary, my first year, and every Thursday we would go out to a parish and do apostolic work. It's on-the-job training. Yeah, and we went. I was assigned with now Father Brian Miller, one of my best friends. We entered the seminary together, and we were at a parish in Reading, Pennsylvania, and went with the priest to the hospital. And I wasn't used to doing, it was different when I was a kid, and I'm standing in the back and watching Mom give communion out. Now this guy's visiting, talking, doing all the stuff. And I said, what do you know what to say? He goes, I don't worry about it. He goes, as I'm entering any situation like that, it's come Holy Spirit, come Holy Spirit.
I love that. I love being able to talk with people and that know things are going on. I actually talked to a guy at Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu about that today. I said, there are going to be times that you don't know what to say or what to do. Just ask the Holy Spirit to help you. Like the Holy Spirit is our helper. And you can say no spirit other than the Holy Spirit is allowed here. And that's a powerful statement.
It is.
And it allows you to have peace and comfort. And I love that scripture.
I use it all the time. Like any pastoral thing. I did it as I'm walking in here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because I've come to realize that if it's something good that comes from what I'm doing and saying, that's the Holy Spirit. If it's not, that's coming from Jason Stokes.
Same.
Yeah, I feel that 100%.
That's awesome. All right, so how long have you been a priest now? So you said that was
2004, and I was ordained in 2011. 7 years. It would have been 2 more if I didn't have a college degree going in.
Whoa, 7 years.
I ended up getting the equivalent of a bachelor's in philosophy and 2 master's degrees. I jokingly say I'm the only guy to get 2 master's degrees to make a quarter of what he did with his bachelor's. But, our benefits are out of this world. Yeah. So,
that's cool.
Yeah. So we, it takes a while to get to become a priest. It takes a while because we end up, like I said, I just did 2 years of the college part of the undergrad part for philosophy that get me up to the equivalent of the bachelor's degree. And then it's 4 years of grad school to get a master's of divinity, which I have in systematic theology, dogmatic, the stuff we actually know and believe.
Okay.
And then a master's in theology with a specialization in sacred scripture as well.
Oh.
So
that's awesome. So it took 7 years. So 2011.
2011.
Wow.
I was ordained a priest by Bishop Ayers.
10 years in the priesthood is when we met at the muster.
Yep.
What were those 10 years like, and what brought you to Echelon Front?
Well, the first 5 years, I had 3 different assignments as an assistant pastor. So I was assigned for 2 years in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, at St. Patrick's Church, and then 1 year at Notre Dame in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and 2 years at St. Ignatius Church in Reading, Pennsylvania. And when you're an assistant, it's really to understand and get moving and learning about what you need to do to run a parish, helping out to fulfill the parish mission. And you learn a lot in those times. You learn what to do, once again, and what not to do. You learn from some good pastors. Father Tom Bortz, pastor of St. Ignatius, what an amazing pastor. I mean, that guy really went in the first day and he says, I might have the title of pastor and you as assistant, but we're both equal priests. I will never ask you to do anything I wouldn't do. When we cover the hospital, I cover it as well as you do. We both do, and I'm not just giving you the junk.
That's awesome.
I mean, and there are other pastors
we won't name their names. No,
well, that don't. Well, to this day, there are other pastors that don't do that.
That's crazy. Why? Why do you think that is? What causes that? Yeah, ego. But if you were to pull the thread on that, if you were to try to explain to me, like, let's assume I don't work for Echelon Front. I don't understand the things that I know now because of working for Jocko and Lay for so long and doing what I do. How would you describe that to me? Let's just say I'm dealing with a boss that just only gives me the crappy work. What advice would you give me based off of your life experience with good pastors and bad pastors? I'm sorry, good priests and bad priests.
Well, and it's pastor and that's a challenge with the Catholic versus Protestant idea of it. I am a priest. My job is pastor.
Pastoring people.
So
correct?
yeah, so like
okay.
the person that
Shepherding.
person that runs the church, which you might call a senior pastor,
okay.
is the pastor, and the assistant, it was the assistant pastor.
Okay.
The why I see it is back in the day, 30 years ago, there might be 4 or 5 guys at that one church. And so the new guy gets ordained, and now it's going to be 20 years till he becomes a pastor, and you can kind of hide him and protect him to bring him up slowly. But they also get the jobs that it runs downhill, right? We've always had that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that happened in the military. And we've had enough talks that that's a very charitable understatement.
I had a buddy in Buds who I was standing there, and I watched a senior guy tell him to do something. He looks at me and goes, and he tells me to do it, and I was like, they just told you to do it. He goes, bro, I'm in the military. I I delegate. And he was 1 rank higher than me. I'm like, all right, cool. And I was looking, there's like another guy by us that was lower ranking than me, but I remember how that made me feel. And I was like, no, I'm not going to just do that. I'm like, cool. I just went and got it done. But
we need Delta Charlie, right? That's the Father Tom Bortz is my Delta Charlie.
Is your Delta Charlie?
He really is.
Like for Jocko, yeah.
And that he comes in, and it's that no, I don't want to do. I remember the one pastor I was under, one of the other two churches. I won't say which, and I won't say which guy.
Yep.
There's a group of about 6 or 7 of us priests every year go down to Orlando this time of year, February, to play some golf before Lent starts, before Ash Wednesday, because that's when it gets really busy.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a horrendous snowstorm, and they canceled all the flights the day we were supposed to come back. So I called him and said, flights canceled. There's no flights coming up to anywhere, Philly, New York, New Jersey, anywhere. And he yelled at me, because that means tomorrow, the next day, he had to take the 8 a.m. mass. And I said, I don't know what you want me, what can I do? I said, if I got in a car and started driving now, I wouldn't get there in time. I'm in Orlando.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want me to do? And that was just a huge lesson in leadership at that point of what not to do, how not to treat, how not to be a bully to staff, because I've seen that too, that a lay staff or the assistant gets bullied. That's not how any of us, let alone a priest, should ever act towards anybody.
Yeah.
We claim to be men of God, and then we treat people poorly.
Yeah, we're missing that whole aspect of trying to emulate Jesus.
Yeah, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, and when everybody would check out your tassels and phylacteries and all this stuff. But
Okay,
yeah.
so first 5 years, all right.
And
And
then-
then
and
what's
then
the last 5 been like?
2016, I was made pastor of Most Blessed Trinity in Tremont, very small border parish type thing, which is perfect for starting pastor, especially that's early. That's quick to become a pastor. 5 years.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be more and more now because we have less and less guys. And that was a place where it was a consolidation. In 2008, our diocese consolidated, closed 49 parishes just because of numbers of priests. And so in that Tremont, Newtown, Tower City, there were 3 different churches. It came into one. And that's why they called it Most Blessed Trinity, 3-1.
I like that. When you guys are having to consolidate churches like that, what are some obstacles that you've encountered?
That's good because I just did it in 2020 with where I'm at.
Yeah.
Us versus them.
Really?
Which means not mission oriented. Us versus them is the biggest issue. I won't go to the Polish church, the Lithuanian church, the Tremont church, the Tower City church, because this is where I'm at. And most of this happened in 2 of our counties, Carbon and Schuylkill County, and they are the coal regions. These are the people that immigrated here in the 19th and early 20th century, got right off the boat, and went right to these enclaves. And if you're from Poland, you went to the Polish ghetto, or the Lithuanian ghetto, or the Italian, because that was safety. And it made sense. And we joke around in Schuylkill County, every corner had 3 things. There was a church, a fire hall, and a bar.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was the Lithuanian ones. There was the Polish ones. There was the German ones, the Italian, the Irish. Well, 1983 Code of Canon Law got rid of ethnic parishes and just have the territorial, where you live. But all that stuff takes time to actually filter down. Okay. And so we do this in 2008. And now you have I'm not going to that church. I'm not going to this church. And that's because there are 4 or 5 generations living in that house.
Mm-hmm. Really?
That's the house that their great-grandparents built.
Dude, this is a kind of a phenomena that's in Pennsylvania that really doesn't exist very much outside of that state and the rest of the United States. Malcolm Gladwell did a really long piece on this in Outliers, and he's done it in a couple of his other books, where you had these big regional movements when there was the first settlement in the United States, and then the second during the World Wars. And so where I was at in Thunder Bay, Canada, is my only experience with it was like that we had in Thunder Bay the second largest Finnish population in the world, where the largest Finnish population was in Finland. And so what they did is they found somewhere on the same longitudinal line, and they all, as things in World War II start happening, and it's obvious that they're going to be invaded, they all moved to Thunder Bay because it was cheap. And so there's a lot of stuff. We had Finnish restaurants. There were we had a lot of like Dutch Reformed churches and a lot of Finnish churches, and then there was a massive amount of dry saunas in all the houses, which was a uniquely like Finnish thing. And so outside of there, the Finnish culture has like no stronghold in Canada at all. But in Thunder Bay, like people spoke Finnish whenever you were going to get pancakes in the morning. And they're like, nope, you go to the Hoido to get your pancakes. You do this. And I'm like, I don't know any of these words. Pennsylvania is really wild because it's the only other place like within the United States where this type of thing happens so prevalently, where you've got people from all over Europe that came there and they settled in these, like you were talking about, they settled in these small areas, and then that's where they raised their families. And they did the same type of European style generational living where you just built on another floor to the house, where that's where, mom and dad were going to live as soon as they had their kids. And then you built on the next floor to the house whenever those kids had kids. So you've got all kinds of stuff in this really small area that has these unique issues, and just kind of culture and all sorts of things that is so unique to the Pennsylvania that doesn't exist anywhere else in the United States. It's bizarre, man.
We're in our diocese, about 10 minutes from me, is the largest enclave of Ukrainians.
Yeah.
Ukrainian Catholics are huge in that area of Pennsylvania, the coal region, because they came over looking for a better life. Mm-hmm. And as the coal industry went down, people moved out, especially as they would get those that would get a little better education. A lot of them would move out as well because coal mine is not easy. These guys were dying young.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting a black lung, or they're having there's a coal mine accident and people are dying. It is not an easy life. I don't know if you ever heard of the Molly Maguires and saw the movie with Sean Connery. Pottsville, Pennsylvania, there is the plaque right in front of the prison about it, where that's where they were hung.
Wow.
That's where they were executed.
Can you give us like the high level version of that for those who aren't familiar with the story?
To a little bit. It was the coal barons versus the workers, and the coal barons had the government behind them. And now there was some of the I don't want to say terroristic, but fighting back by the workers.
There was rebellion.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And I mean, every year on the anniversary of it, there's usually something in the Pottsville Republican reprinting it about the executions, and that these two went first, and the pastor this was with them, and then right there in the courtyard of Schuylkill County Prison, where I was a chaplain for 3 years.
It's crazy, man.
Because those 3 years that I was at Most Blessed Trinity in Tremont, I was also going to 4 prisons every week, and so it's saying a total of 5 masses.
Wow. Are you finding the same? So this kind of phenomena in Pennsylvania, they also have some similar things that happened in New York around the same time that there was these like big migrations. Are you finding that like the second, third, fourth generations of these families that you're starting to see some affluence kind of creep in? So the coal miners went, and this is another thing that's kind of studied in like the garment district in New York, which was primarily, you had a bunch of Jewish refugees who came over that did phenomenal work in making garments. But then the second generation, that you have all of a sudden this explosion of doctors and lawyers because their parents are working incredibly hard for these, for the next generation to be able to go to school. And so now there's this compounding affluence that, all right, so by the third generation, everybody's college educated, and then they're doing their best to take care of grandma and granddad who's, eyesight's going away, and they're getting arthritis because they spent their entire lives, stitching stuff together. So are you guys seeing that same type of thing there?
Yeah, you're seeing that. There's a lot more education now. There was affluence, but not like compared to some of the other parts of our diocese, the Lehigh Valley, Northampton, Lehigh County, or Berks County and Reading, it was always less than that. But where they're at, you're seeing more and more of that come, especially because you also have what are the choices of your jobs. What's big now is, prisons is one. There's 2 state prisons, a medium security and a maximum security. Federal prison, which has a medium security and a minimum security camp. The county prison as well. So there's a lot of prison work. That's a big industry for correction officers and others, but also warehousing, because we're right on 81, Interstate 81, which goes way up to New York, way down through Virginia. So that's a very, there's Big Lots, Walmart, Wegman, they're all there on the highway. Which would have both college degree and non-college degree type jobs, and very good paying non-college degree jobs as well, which is important.
It is.
You get a lot of that type of work because the coal mines, I mean, they're very few and far between. There's very few of them up there working.
Yeah. That's awesome. What brought you to Echelon Front? How'd you get introduced to Echelon Front? Was it through Jocko's podcast?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't through the podcast. It was, I saw him on Fox News, politics, watching the news and stuff, and talking about this extreme ownership book. And I think I might have read that, 10 times, at least by now.
Yeah.
I've got a couple different copies of it because mine's are beat up so much.
That's awesome.
But saw it and I was like, this is interesting. Started to read up about it a little more, and I ended up sending Jamie Cochran an email about it and just asking, because I'm also looking at that time I was on the Priest Life Commission for the diocese, which they had taken 3 different committees, one of them being the stuff that would put together for the continual education, our priest workshop every year. And I said, I wonder how this will work. So I sent an email, and I heard back from her and trying to give me more info, what's going on. And then I had signed up for a muster in 2020, and then the world shut down.
Yeah.
And so they rebooked it for 2021, 4 years ago when we met.
That's so cool.
That was the first muster I went to in Orlando. And I was like, it's a no-brainer. It makes so much sense. Why do we need anybody to tell us that? Mm-hmm. But then again, we could say the same thing about the Bible.
Yep. I was just going to say.
And you and I probably touched base or met at some point during like the meet and greet. And even back then, though, the meet and greets aren't what they are today. Today, they're like big things.
Yeah, it's a bigger thing. No, I remember us meeting at the muster. I couldn't remember what muster it was.
But then when
first one,
the first time we really talked was after your talk.
Yes, that's right.
And I was like, that was deep, man. Because I mean, I'm sure everybody on this is not surprised that your talk is very deeply spiritual and can show the transformation. And I still say that the work of the Holy Spirit in your family and for you guys, and you could have. I tell people this all the time, and I've never told you this, so I will now. But it is by the grace of God that you weren't one of the military suicides.
Yeah.
That is God's grace working through you, and I even think even more importantly, working through Amanda.
Yeah, I was never suicidal, but I could see the trends in that direction.
Yeah.
Just because there was times I didn't want to be alive.
Right.
I never was going to do anything. But and I've shared this from stage. I'm sure you've heard me say this. There was times where I would never have done anything, but if something was to happen, I wouldn't have cared.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and it was just by the grace of God. And
but it made me realize even more because I don't think what led you to that point was unique to you.
No.
That was what many, many, many of our servicemen and women have gone through and are going through.
Yeah. And which is crazy is the more I've been doing this, I recognize it's not just servicemen and women.
True.
This is a people get lost in life because they lose sight and lose focus of what their mission is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what my talk is about,
Yeah.
like knowing your mission. And like for you, for what you've done, it's knowing your mission, but then also not getting complacent with that mission.
Right.
And so that's one of the things I want to ask you is, do you think because of your commitment and the investment and your intentionality with your personal and professional development, do you think that's helped combat getting complacent in what you do? Because it can happen.
It's a huge problem that happens a lot in the church is a pastor can very well just become complacent. The terminology that's used the most, and it's the most dangerous terminology that can be used in the church, but it's used the most, is that's how we've always done it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Lucas and I are over here preaching, right?
Yeah, no joke, man. Yeah.
What questions do you have for Father Stokes?
Man, there's one thing in particular that I kind of want to dive into. We talked about it a little bit off here, but before we do that, I want to talk about, in particular, when it comes to the extreme ownership stuff, because it is something that was created in the secular world. There tends to be this attitude in a lot of religious organizations that in one way or another, that like if we're taking something from the secular world and that we're bringing it into, the spiritual world, that what we're trying to do is to sanctify the stuff of the world in order to make it there. How do you present extreme ownership to the people in your parish, to the other people that you're working with, to the priests that you're encouraging to do this, in a way that helps them to understand that the concepts of the ideas, regardless of the presentation, is really what's effective?
That's a very important question, because it was Jocko helped me with this, and so did Leif, and we've talked about this, JP, because I faced this.
Yeah.
When after the first muster, I went back and I brought this to the priest life commission, that this is good. It's probably going to be out of our budget, but I'm sure we can work with Echelon Front, and we can work with the Knights of Columbus to help us get the money for it, to have somebody at least come in and talk to us at a priest workshop. And it came back, we think it might be too intimidating.
That's fair.
And it was the only time that for 0.4 of a second that I saw, when I talked to Jocko about it, that I saw him look almost offended. And then he said, "They do know we work with schools and hospitals." And I said, "Yeah, I know that." Yeah. But, and he said, "Do it yourself." I like that. Because I also think that was a weak excuse, that they might be, they think you're going to come in and put mines on the field, down on the floor, and shoot guns over their heads.
Legitimately, one of the biggest issues we have with the FTXs that we run, our field training exercises, is people think that it's going to be like a mini buds selection, and it's crazy because the videos like that we have, it's laser tag systems, and we focus on the debriefs and how the value of the training is the debrief. Yeah. It's sitting down, talking, connecting the dots, but it's also to your point, like these are things that are common sense, and it's like we have to be told these things. Well, it's the same thing with the Bible and what you guys deal with as pastors. And that's a big thing that we deal with at Echelon Front, is just people understanding, and that's something that we're trying to get better at. Obviously, at Echelon Front, we're not doing a good enough job at that, because we still have that reservation.
Well, you're doing but the reservation, I think, a lot of times is ego-driven by the person using that excuse. Yeah,
because they also feel that if we come in and work with them, they're going to get exposed as not being great leaders.
Bingo. Who's this Navy guy going to tell me I need to be a better pastor? Well, the pastor that says that needs to be a better pastor. There's not one of us in this world, other than Jesus Christ himself, that can't get better. We can all grow, and to think that all leadership that I need to learn is coming out of leadership that's taught by the Catholic Church, that nobody else has anything of value, would be stupid. Just like it would be stupid for a policeman to say, well, it can only come out of the police, so I'm not going to go to Echelon Front muster or read extreme ownership.
Or I'm not going to seek any outside tactical
Right.
training or shooting training because I'm a cop. I know what to do. You're like, bro, you shoot once a year for your recall.
Right.
You should maybe get on the gun more.
We all can learn, and it takes the humility to say, I need to get better, to have that brutal self-assessment that we all need to do. But that's hard. That's hard to do because of our egos. And the more we do it, the better we practice it. I mean, I've been to 10 musters.
And you get something new each time?
Every single time, because I'm sitting there at this time, and Steve Ward leads the assessments. And
He's so good.
I told him, I think it was my third muster, I said, Steve, every time I've done this, it gets worse. My report, I'm against myself. And he said, good. He said, that's because you're paying attention.
And you're more aware.
Yes. And I said, so this time I might need to work on something out of cover and move. Well, I work on that for now I come to a muster 4 months later. That's better. But now I see I can do a little bit better with prioritize and execute. And so you're able to work those things in. And I use it in my parish, my director of parish life, Katie, she is a master at this without even studying this stuff. She lives extreme ownership, and she doesn't know who Jocko is.
Well,
other than hearing from me, she just knows. It's like it's innate to her. She understands it.
Yeah.
Well, these principles are also universal and they're biblical.
Yes.
So if she is doing her job and knowing the Bible, reading the Bible, studying it, and trying to pursue a Christ-like life, guess what type of principles she's going to be emulating? Right. She's going to be humble. She's going to believe in teamwork. She's going to be working on her communication. She's going to be working on detaching from her emotions, and she's going to be mindful that she should be empowering the people around her. And then when something goes wrong, she recognizes, oh, this is how I played a role in this. I'm actually going to take ownership, and I'm not going to blame people.
Yep.
By the way, that's what we teach at Echelon Front.
Yeah.
Which you read in the Bible, tells you to do those things. You read non-biblical leadership books, the good ones, guess what they're going to tell you? To do all those same things.
She'll call me or send me a text, and boom, this is happening. And then she'll say, and I did this. She knows commander's intent. She knows how I would answer it. And sometimes she might say, well, I told him this because I thought that's what you'd want. And I'd just be like, thumbs up.
Yeah.
Execute.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we did it today, literally today, because there's 5 inches of snow falling. We've got 4 o'clock mass, 5:30 mass. 5:30 mass is across town because I still have 2 churches. And that's mainly, it's only got about 60 or 70 people there. And it's mainly the older people, a lot of walkers and stuff like that. And she goes, it's bad. And I'm thinking we should cancel. I said, absolutely. Let Father Conley, the retired 85-year-old priest that's coming to say mass, let him know because he shouldn't be out in this stuff.
Yeah.
And she goes, I got it. Just keeping you informed. I'm like, I didn't have to make a decision.
It's such a good feeling when your team is having those, oh, by the way, conversations with you. That's what Cody does all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, by the way, we have an FTX coming up in Australia. Here's where I'm taking. Here's what we're doing. Hey, for the follow-on training, obviously it's in Australia. We can't stay there for an extra week to do everything, so we're going to be doing 5 virtual follow-on sessions. I'm like, awesome.
Roger that.
Sounds great.
Where in Australia are we going? And do you need a film crew?
And it's like I'm not even going on that FTX.
That's cool.
And as much as I would like to go on it, it was like, nope, it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
It did not make sense because of the client's window, other things I had on my calendar, and like that's the goal. I love FTXs, but the goal is I don't need to be on every single one of them. And I was extremely. I'm always proud of Cody. I mean, you know that. You've seen Cody.
Guy.
He's an incredible human. He's been on the podcast a few times. An incredible leadership instructor at Echelon Front.
Great family man.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing about Cody. Is because if you're a great family man, if you're taking care of your wife, if you're leading your wife, you're taking care of your kids, you're leading your kids, he exemplifies what we teach in Echelon Front.
And those things also exemplify what makes a good priest. A person that would be a good husband, and dad, and does all this ownership is what makes a good priest as well.
Because you're looking out for others above yourself at all times.
So,
what else?
Yeah, so the second thing is you were in the news recently, and I think
not the I have been in the obituaries, but usually it's presided over by.
Oh, okay, well that's good. Yeah,
funeral presided over by Father Jason Stokes.
Who
got a little nervous there?
Yeah, right. I forget the quote that the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated, and all that.
You know that's actually happened to service members?
Oh, no doubt.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. I've read a couple of reports, particularly of guys in the Pacific, that one in particular was twins, and they reported that the wrong twin had passed away. And whenever he got home, not only was the family shocked, but his wife had remarried and had like kids with the new husband because she thought her husband was dead. Wow. So it was terrible stuff.
Question: how would you handle that if you came home and your wife got remarried because she legitimately thought you were dead and had a new family?
Castaway? Tom Hanks' Castaway.
What would you do?
I don't know. I'd be crushed because probably what was getting that guy through was thinking of his wife.
Yep.
Especially like if he wasn't a non-communicable, he was on Castaway on an island, or he's in a POW camp and something like that. So there is no way to get back that you're alive.
Yeah, this is World War II time frame, so they're not calling.
Oh, yeah,
all the letters stop. I mean,
so I don't know how I would handle that. I mean, there would be a lot of anger, hurt, and hatred because she's not doing anything that's wrong.
She didn't do anything wrong.
Not at all.
But I don't know. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah,
I could not imagine.
What would you do, Lucas?
So do my best. That's it. I would just do my best.
I don't even know what I'd turn.
Yeah, I don't know what that would look like, but it would be something.
I would turn, and hopefully there's a chaplain there. There's some friends there that can.
So
help.
with this
I would head back out.
You'd head back out?
I would say, hey, I love you. I've always loved you.
See ya.
I gotta go.
Yeah. So
because there's no way I could stay back home.
Oh, that would.
I'd be like, send me back into the fray.
True.
Because that's how I would handle it. I would obviously lean into the Lord, but I would have to go back out and just be like, cool, like this is what I meant to do. I love her. I will always love her, but she's got a family. She has kids.
Yeah.
She has a new marriage. Like that's not fair to that guy. It's not fair to the kids.
No, and with this one, the scenario is so weird because they were draftees, right? So the go back out is now not an option because the military is shrinking, right? So
that would be the time where I would be like, hey, this is your guys' fault. Yeah. This is what. Hey,
fix it.
Make this right. I'm coming back in. Hey, guess what? No, I'm not leaving.
Yeah, and so and in this particular scenario, just to make it a little worse,
I would go join the French Foreign Legion.
It wasn't bad enough yet. So it's so devastating because he gets home and he comes off the plane. He does not know that they've told his parents that the wrong twin passed away. Right, so he's been dealing with his brother's death. He gets there. His brother's wife with his nephew is there thinking she's going to greet her husband. He did not have any kids with his wife. But then, so they came up for moral support. So he's got to at the moment he gets off the plane, before he says a word, news is broken to his brother's wife that her husband is actually the one that passed away. So now she's got an orphaned child that she's got to take care of. The parents realize that they've grieved the wrong child and all of that. And then his wife and her husband with their kid all show up at the same time. And they didn't even get to talk about anything. The moment he stepped off the plane, all three of those other families, their worlds all changed.
So do you take care of your brother's wife and kid?
I would, again,
I'm not saying you marry.
Best.
I'm not saying you marry her, but do you now fulfill that
Yeah,
commitment to your brother's wife and kid.
Yeah, I mean, but that also depends. Like, did she hate you? Like, and does she now?
Does she now? Because is she resentful that you're there and her husband's not?
Right.
I don't like this question anymore.
Yeah, like this.
You be calling Tim Kennedy and saying, "Get me on a plane that go help me have me help
exactly
rescue
right.
people all across the world."
I'm going somewhere.
Yeah,
I'm doing something.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm gonna go fight the cartel.
Yep.
But it's one of those. Yeah, it's just one of those scenarios that, like, as it unfolds, everybody involved comes to the realization that there's been a horrible mistake that's been made that now affects everyone's lives. It was like I was reading this, and then so this story in particular, you're like, oh, that's a unique scenario, and it's like, yeah, it's only unique because that person's a twin, because it happened with brothers who were different ages. It happened with servicemen who grew up in the same area, and like one of them grabbed the other one's dog tags because they wanted to make sure whenever they're on the way. Well, the raw dog tags got discovered and sent home. That during World War II and in Vietnam, this happened also. That it was just a trip with some of that stuff.
There's a guy who's a Marine. His name is Cody Crawford, I think his last name. I should know. Anyway, this happened to him. He stopped getting like letters and care. This is in Iraq-Afghanistan time frame the current war.
Yeah.
Stopped getting letters and care packages and stuff like that. I was just watching this clip. He's on Sean Ryan's podcast, and he stopped getting all of those things, and then his first sergeant, or I might be phrasing this wrong. Anyways, his leadership was like, "Hey, you need to call home." And so he called home, and his mom was like, "Who is this?" He goes, "Your son Cody." They had received a notification that he had been killed. But here's what's so horrible. If this is true, I'm assuming this is true. I would assume if you go on Sean Ryan's podcast, like you go on any podcast, your stuff better be squared away because we can, people can do their due diligence. He was saying so they notified his parents that he had been killed in action, but then there was no follow on, no funeral, nothing. And they just thought that they were going to get nothing from the military and they had to do these things on their own, which is unfortunate. A month. His parents thought he was dead, and they thought it was taking a month for them to figure out all of the things for his body and whatnot.
No body got back, and where's the?
So they're thinking it's going to be like a process. Think about it. I mean, so if you don't know anything,
support officers that come and help.
See, you know that, but people don't know these things, and so I'm not saying his parents are out of the loop, but there are some service members, their parents and their family members know nothing about the military. Okay. My parents knew a lot because I told them a lot. They both grew up in military families, aunts and uncles and whatnot. So they would have had the resources.
Yeah, we would be clueless if this happened in our family.
Okay, so great example. So you don't know, and you could think this takes a month or two for the body to get back home. Hey, I don't know what happened to my son. Are they recovering the body? Is the body missing? So they're thinking for a month.
How bad is it? Because you got to be running all those nightmare scenarios in your head.
And they're probably afraid to ask.
Yeah.
And who do you reach out to?
Yeah.
Because they're also devastated.
Right.
Yep.
They lost their son. They're not going to be of a right mind. I couldn't imagine. That's
good grief,
horrible.
Man.
Sorry, I don't know how we went down that rabbit hole, but anyways.
Sounds like it'd be like a Vonnegut story or something like
Bro,
that.
It does. That's so wild. So
what type of story?
Kurt Vonnegut, Slaughterhouse.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought it was a word I didn't know, so I was like,
it's an author. It's an author.
So it's a name.
Yeah.
Got it.
So what I wanted to get to is that you were recently in the news, right? And the reason
that was a tangent.
Yeah. That was it. Can you imagine? There you go. This is the danger hypotheticals get us into on this show. So you were recently in the news because you uncovered some alleged impropriety. And we'll use that word because that's there are legal proceedings that are taking place, right? So you uncovered some alleged impropriety. And this is something that obviously, not knowing your background, now looking at it, it makes sense, right? If you did auditing and financial accounting and those kinds of things. But when you uncover any type of impropriety, particularly in a nonprofit, there is heavy scrutiny about it. But even in the business world, if you're the guy that uncovered the Enron thing and you're working internally, how do you bring that up? And not only were you able to help your congregation navigate this alleged impropriety, but also to keep them together and to help them continue to put trust in this institution. How do you navigate that? Because that's something that is not unique to the nonprofit world, though it's much more damaging, I think, whenever that happens, particularly whenever it happens in churches. But beyond that, this is the kind of thing that is a scenario that so many people go through. Hey, I had a little question about why we spent $25 on Sour Patch Kids here, or why is this here? And you ask one question, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, shut up, don't ask questions about this. And you know that something's wrong. How do you uncover those things and still continue to have trust with the people that you are leading whenever that kind of stuff has happened on your watch?
Integrity and transparency. And just for a quick 1 minute of what happened, and I'm only going to talk about what's been in the news because that way.
Yes, thank you.
Protects you.
It
and,
protects
and
you.
the parish.
Yes. But a former employee of one of the two parishes that I have that became consolidated ran all the office functions. And so somebody would count the collection on Sunday, fill out a count sheet, tally sheet, put it in the safe, and he would come in on Monday, recount it, and make the deposit. The problem was the cash wasn't making it into the bank. And so if the deposit was anticipated with the collection of $3,500 and we anticipated $2,000 in cash, $1,500 in check, roughly that $3,500 was hitting the bank, but maybe $200 in cash. And so when I got there, that was not a thought. That wasn't why I was sent there as an accountant or anything. I was sent there as the new pastor. One guy retired, the other guy moved. They had him move, so that way there was one guy going to take care of both places. But my main issue was we weren't doing the collection counting and correctly as the policy of the diocese. And I don't care what any previous guys had done. I'm not worried about that. I'm not. But this is the way the diocese, they went count teams, multiple people.
Hence integrity.
Yep. And going back to the old accounting, mom means opportunity and motive. It takes away the opportunity and the means. And so whoever's running your business side of it does not touch any of the deposit stuff. They just record it. This wasn't being done. And so there was a huge opportunity there for misappropriation, for theft. And so when I got there and we started changing and wanted to bring everything onto the computing system. And in doing so, I needed to bring out, because we were supposed to be on it, the parish was not on it. I said, I'm going to bring out the diocesan auditors to build this for you, to put it on the computer. You don't have to do anything. And they're going to look at the books to make sure it's correct to go in there. And he resigned. And like the Friday before the auditors were going to get there on Monday.
Red flag.
And in the course of the audit, which took a while because of just building the system, that's where it was like, well, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. And so then we had to start getting the actual information from the bank of pictures of every single check that was deposited. And you see things like sale of a grave. That's not a collection of things. Investment dividend check. That's not collection. Those were being put in its place, is what is being alleged, to the tune of over $300,000 over a 7-year period. And I mean, obviously, while the investigation's going on, it's the auditor who ended up running my business side of my parish, and I are the only people in the building that know what's going on, because we can't take a chance.
Can't disclose it,
until charges were finally filed back in December. And
did this person allegedly that resigned, I'm sorry, not allegedly, so this person that resigned, did they think that because they resigned they would be not in a position to be held accountable?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it was that just thought that got away with it.
They really thought?
Yes. I think that's what the thought was. And it's like you see in most thefts, it started small and grew.
Yeah.
And
I think the first year, if I remember right, was less than $5,000, and the last one was $70.
Yeah. And so
ballooned.
Yeah.
to say that it grew is an understatement. You can forget $5,000 somewhere in the course of a year when you got a $250,000 budget. You can't forget $72,000 somewhere.
Right. And so there was a lot of, and I got there June of that year, and he left in November when the audit started, and it was in that time frame that I changed the policies and got the auditors out there, and it was filed in court and everything. And a preliminary hearing, it was just happened that it was the charges were waived without prejudice, which means if it was with prejudice, that means there's not evidence of of a crime,
Yeah.
and you cannot bring charges again. It's due to statute of limitation issues, and so with the district attorney is refiling the charges, so it's going to go through, and they just have to. It's legalese. It's the procedural stuff.
That sucks. I'm sorry.
So
you had to deal
yeah,
with this.
it's been a struggle, and then okay, I need to make sure we can't just say no comment. We
Right.
have to be open to the parish. But see, that's a lot of times what the
Yeah.
MO is. That's
Yeah.
the standard operating procedure is can't comment. We have to comment something, but we got to be also careful. We're not going to affect the court case, and we can't go too into depth because there's a lot of material. We're talking. We have 55 5-inch binders for the one checking account, showing every check for 550. It's like 500 and some deposits in that time period. So I
Yeah,
mean,
and thank God that banks keep all of that stuff digitally now, because what a nightmare that would be if you were looking at microfiche or photocopies, if that's what they were doing. At least it's easy enough to pull up and do. Yeah.
And so and I worked with the communications department for the diocese as well as with the DA. So I'm not saying anything that he doesn't want us to say. And
No, it's fine.
and it was more of told the people at the mass. I'm sure many of you have already seen it because it happened like on Thursday. And so the weekend mass, I'm sure many of you have already seen this. As I can't comment on ongoing criminal case, what I can tell you is I will protect this parish. I will protect
Awesome.
Its assets,
Good for you.
and I will keep you as much updated as I can.
Yeah.
And we're also working with the insurance company, of course, as well.
Has anything you've learned or relearned or been exposed to from Extreme Ownership Academy or coming to musters help you navigate this time?
Absolutely. One, you got to, it's probably all the laws of combat, cover and move. We got to work as a team.
Yep.
I have people that are working on things in the parish that didn't know they were working on this because I couldn't tell them what it was, but I needed help.
Yep.
But also working with this auditor who's now running my finances. That her and I had to work in a way to get all the work done, but not hurt the case. We got to keep it simple. She's got to run the finances and she's got to do this. So we can't be adding all this other ancillary things.
Yeah.
And we had to put this first, prioritize and execute. And of course, decentralized command. I got to let her do her thing.
Yeah.
I can't tell her, I can't sit over her because I got to run my parish. I got to be a pastor. But being that open and being mission oriented, that we have the mission of spreading the gospel.
Yeah.
Number one mission.
Yep.
And so obviously we need to be able to turn the lights on, turn the heat, get some heat in the building, so that we got to protect our assets. Got to have justice. Jesus is pure, perfect justice. He's perfect mercy, but we're going to protect our parish.
Yeah. How much value, I know this is a question that would be, you can't put an actual number on it, but how much value have you received over the years from Extreme Ownership Academy? Having every Monday, except for holidays or if we're doing the muster, having just access to that group.
It's amazing, and I'm sure you agree with this as much. The chat. The chat is, I mean,
It's invaluable.
I don't know what I don't remember what they charge each year, but I mean, it's well worth it. The muster's expensive, but it's well worth it, and I pay for that. It's not the parish, or the diocese. I pay for that because I understand how important these things are for everybody. I don't care what field you're in, what you do. Even if I will never say that you're not working, but you're staying home and work with the kids and running your household.
Yeah. Oh, that's legit work.
It is. Yeah, that's why I'm not saying it's a stay-at-home mom. No, there's people who are working full time. They're just not at McDonald's working or at or at wherever.
The IT company.
Right.
Yeah,
they are working hard.
Yeah.
And you know what? Echelon Front, the extreme ownership is important for that too.
Yeah.
Just to hear or even to just be able to formulate and give from my experience when somebody asks a question in the chat and to be able to type in and there's the core group of people that will type in myself, Chief Shy, Sarah Armstrong, Jonathan and Ann Montgomery. There's a group of people that usually we're beating you guys to the answer.
Yeah.
And
That's
but that's
the
important.
testament of what winning looks like.
But that's decentralized command.
Yep.
I mean, that I can help somebody with this and not say, well, you have to go talk to JP.
No.
Well, no, because I can tell you what I can tell you what Jocko's going to say on this.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm listening to your podcast or his podcast, I'm answering those questions.
It's so
right?
awesome. I love that.
It's a good exercise too, right?
Yeah.
Because like I try not to jump the gun when we do Q&As, but I have an idea of like how I would answer the question, and I keep like a little mental tally in my head of like, oh, nailed it. And then I'll ask another one, and JP will be like, I would do this one. I'm like, oh, that's so much smarter.
I do it in books I read. I mean, I'm always reading leadership books. I just picked up one now. It's the leadership lessons of, don't know the exact title. It was on my Instagram with Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's a really good book. But I'm sitting there writing in detach, prioritize and execute. Like I'm writing all the key phrases down, default aggressive, I'm writing because all that, once again, it's universal. It goes back to the same thing, same lessons. And now when you're able to pick these things out, or I'm talking to my sister, talking to my mom, talking to somebody in a parish, and talking to one of my employees, my team members, and we're sitting there, it's like, well, we got to prioritize and execute here. Let's get some teamwork here, some cover and move.
Yeah, that's how it was this past year. I read Patton's memoirs, War as I Knew It, and then I read Patton on Leadership, which is them like taking that and applying those principles. And, he says, well, a leader should know what's going on 2 levels below him, but doesn't need to get caught into the minutia of everything else. I'm like, there's decentralized command,
yep.
And then making sure that you go in and you're working with the frontline troops so that they know you understand the problems and stuff that they have. And it's like, oh, well, there's care in the relationship stuff. Oh, there's such universal rules that like you can see them in absolutely everything. It's awesome.
My that director of parish life, and she also she's running the office and stuff, and she her husband went into the hospital sick, and so she had to go, and I said, we got it, go. Well, I'm like, go, and I turned to some other volunteers. I said, okay, prioritize the next, we're going to do some cover and move now, and we're going to keep it simple, get done what just has to get done. Bulletins got to get out. What do we need to do for that? Boom. You're going to be doing the phones, taking the calls. Let's handle that. So we just put in all 4 laws of combat, and it got through it.
I love it. How long have you been training in jiu-jitsu?
2 years, just a little over 2 years now.
And you shifted schools?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. That was a good, healthy change.
It was a very necessary, healthy change.
Hey, that happens
and
in
it
jiu-jitsu.
happens. And you know what? I don't have anything against my former school or the people there. I'm still friends with many of them.
Good.
It's just
That's the right
right
way
place.
to do it.
And you were helpful on that, talking to you about that, talking to Jocko, talking to Leif, that they would give me the encouragement. And it's been a good year and a couple months there, and now coming up on a year at the new place.
That's amazing. What? Why do you train jiu-jitsu? Why is it important to you?
Well, the reason I started training jiu-jitsu because it was about my 4th muster, and I got tired of Jocko saying, "Father, when are you going to roll?" Because we would go the intro to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I would go down to it and just start rolling yet, and I had every stupid excuse that was not a good excuse not to roll, and so you're rolling. So I finally pulled the trigger, and I enjoyed going to the intro to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I love watching MMA and stuff like that. And I just thought, you know what? For health-wise, better health, enjoyment, get out there, competition, let's give it a shot. Let's try it. And
have you done a competition yet?
I did do one.
Nice.
I did do one.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes and no. I think I would enjoy another one. And here's why. And if for those only listening and not watching us, JP is looking at Lucas over here and nodding.
Bro, I enjoyed my one.
April 5th.
What about April 5th? I think.
Aren't you going to do Jiu-Jitsu World League with me?
No.
And Josh and Steven?
No.
At least Josh and I.
No.
Steven's making up his.
Okay, cool.
So
I already
Josh
did
and
mine.
Yeah, you should do it again.
No, I checked that box.
You did well.
That is the overstatement of 2025.
Lucas, it's hard. I understand these tournaments are hard. They're not easy to do, but it was not hard. It was very hard for Jesus to get on that cross and die for you. You can go do a jiu-jitsu tournament.
True.
That JP is called Catholic guilt.
Yeah. And
I made his day.
that is exactly why the Reformation happened right there. Is because of stuff like that. That would be the 96th thesis.
There's no selling indulgences here with that. There's just
No, that
was brutal, and I support that.
you could use that with your kids. You know, I do with the kids. Father, it's hard to get up for Mass in the morning. Yes, and it was hard for Jesus to get up on that cross and die for you, but he did it, didn't he?
Life's full of difficult things, man.
But I enjoy. I think where it was tough was I got that target fixation because it was the first time I did not wrestle. I was a basketball player. Yeah. Basketball, golf, and tennis is what I did in high school.
You didn't just box out your opponent.
Yeah, right. And I was so looking for one move on my first match with a takedown that I missed a stupid arm drag that was right there because I was so
yeah.
And it's like afterwards I'm like, duh, dummy. But that was such a great learning experience, and it took me a couple days to actually appreciate it because I was mad because I didn't do as well as I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Is this Lucas' story for?
No, I'm just looking around in the room.
I was not mad. I had fun and didn't get hurt.
He wasn't mad. He did great. I wasn't
mad. I was more just disappointed in myself that I thought. But then again, it's like that's completely out of the comfort zone. Jiu-Jitsu is out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I mean, for me I started Jiu-Jitsu. I'm 48 years old. I started Jiu-Jitsu when I was 45, almost 46. And I remember my mother telling me, I could never imagine your dad at that age doing something like that. I mean, and I look at it like that is a huge way out of the comfort zone. Yeah. I do old man jiu-jitsu, nice and slow, let these kids try to run them, kill themselves. And I enjoy it. I love it. I always look forward to going to class, to the people, to hang out. There's a great fraternity of jiu-jitsu. You see somebody on the street and they got an Origin shirt on or they got a jiu-jitsu shirt on, you give them a little nod, they know, and that's enough. Or like, I love it. You're both in a building that's kind of sketched and you see another guy, you're like, okay, there's somebody, we're good.
We're good. I love it. That's awesome. What's been your progression of your jiu-jitsu game? Do you I know you're still a white belt, you don't really develop your game until like blue, purple, but what do you like going for? Like, what's your game right now?
I more than what I like going for is I like to challenge myself to do things that I don't like to do. Like, I'm a big guy, older guy, so I'm of course looking to get on top. Americana, smush, yeah. What Tom Hardy say when they asked what his favorite move is, and he says smother, and I was like, that's my spirit animal right there.
Yeah.
But to not do that, to force myself to not do those things.
That's smart. I wish I would have done more of that as a white belt.
Well, what did Victoria say today? I could do that, but I'm not using strength here. I'm using technique. So I'm purposely telling myself, don't do this, let it, and put myself in bad positions.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put myself in a bad position because of to make myself get out of it.
Yeah.
Versus just I mount a guy and stay on him for 4 or 5 minutes and not really do anything, and it's not helping him. It's not helping me.
Yeah.
So
as soon as I step on the mat, I've put myself in a bad position.
Well, we all listen. There's
no. That's at the level that I'm at. That's true.
Okay.
And I think every one of us is better than we would ever admit. I bet I would say no, but I bet I would say both of you are better than either of you think you are. Just probably both of you would say that about me. Okay. We always think we're worse than we actually are.
Yeah.
And that's where we have to give ourselves a little grace.
I agree.
I feel like I've done a pretty honest self-assessment of where I'm at. And again, we can roll the tape.
Well, we could just move some of the cameras and just do some rolling here, and we could find out.
I mean, we can roll the tape on the tournament.
I'm fine putting my stuff on the internet so that everyone sees it.
Hey, we can roll the tape at the Waco Open where I lost because I made a stupid mistake. You lost not from doing something stupid.
Right, just because I'm not good at it.
Okay, so keep competing.
That's what I'm saying. That's
good.
Keep competing.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Now you got a chance.
So my favorite thing about this is that so Levi, my 2-year-old, has seen pictures of me and Mr. JP on my phone from the jiu-jitsu competitions, but he does not know that because the videos that I have are a little grainy, he does not know that the people I'm competing against are not Mr. JP. And so he will request, hey, can Daddy show me the video of him scuffling with Mr. JP? And I'm like, Daddy did not scuffle with Mr. JP because he's smarter than that. But if you want to watch the videos of Daddy, getting tossed around, like we can. So
if they're great, I need to airdrop those to you. So
yeah. But they're
about a year.
I don't need a clearer picture of.
It was before
failure.
I've been at 2 of the origin camps, but it was before the one a year and a half ago. You and I rolled together at one of the musters, and I think it was Orlando because the family was down there. And so you and I start, and I don't remember if it was Nola or Cora, but one of them goes, Dad's killing the priest. I said,
that
girls,
would probably be Nola.
I said, help, tag team, kid.
Yep.
But I mean, you were just, obviously, if you wanted to, you could just destroy me, but it was just, you were helping. And that's what I love too, because one of the things that I've experienced this from people, that, fresh blood, you get to go kill him now. Well, what does that do for anybody? But to work with somebody new, and to guide them and let them work and help them, because it's all a team. We're all doing this to get better.
It should be.
It's not the world championship.
Exactly. I love it. What else do you have for Father Stokes before we close it out? I know we could sit and talk and dive into
there's
stuff.
There's a lot of commonality in the Venn diagrams here, but
I love it.
Yeah, I think with what we've covered, man, you've given a great value add, a lot of stuff for me to chew on.
And everybody can do these things, regardless of your life, regardless of your status, if you're clergy, if you're a lay person, if you're married, if you're single, if you're a PhD, if you have a GED. Mm-hmm. There's no excuse. We all can use the gifts God has given us to 100%. Make this world better. Amen. And to work together, because we all have the same goal.
Awesome.
Get to heaven.
Well, that would have been a great final closing thought. So you're going to have to think about another one after I get through some of these closing things. So
I'm going to just pull up right now on my phone the JP Dinnell muster talk, and I'll just recite that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Take a TT break if that's the case.
Father Stokes, I appreciate you being here. The value that you added to our listeners, I really enjoyed it. I know Lucas did. He's got a page of notes. This was really cool that you took the time to do this.
I'm blessed that you had me. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to close it out with some final thoughts, but I just want to thank you guys for all the support each of you has given us by listening, sharing, subscribing, commenting. Make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube so you can be notified when the YouTube exclusive episodes come out. If you want to follow us on social media, I am at JP Dinnell. That's at JPDINNELL. Lucas is at Lucas Pinkard. That's at LUCASPINCKARD. Father Stokes is at FRJFSTOKES. Again, that is at FRJFSTOKES. Make sure you're also following the Echelon Front on social media. We are at Echelon Front. And when you want to learn more about what we do at Echelon Front, go to echelonfront.com. You can click on events to see future events that we have, shop for some of the merch that we have, check out Extreme Ownership Academy, as we talked about today. And also, if you'd like to work with us at Echelon Front, you can also request that on the website, and someone from our team will reach out to you. You can also send me a direct message, and I will help facilitate that as well. I look forward to seeing you guys at a future event, or for one of our instructors to come work with you and your company. I know we talked about Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. That was an incredible event today. So if you want to learn more about that, it's a ministry that I'm a part of. It's at Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu _USA. We have a podcast that comes out every Tuesday. We do live events about every 4 to 6 weeks at different gyms. We're going to be in Boise, Idaho, I believe Saturday, April 12th. You can check out our Instagram page for that. We also have a discipleship program that Isaac stood up. We start off with a free jiu-jitsu seminar. Someone shares their testimony, and then we open it up for some open mat and some good training. The discipleship program that Lucas, you and Isaac have been working on is freaking awesome, man.
It's been a lot of fun.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's something that we've had a heart for. Isaac kind of took point on it. It was something he was really looking for. And then just with some of the people that I've had the opportunity to run into and get connections with, particularly with Sterling Archer, with the guy who's writing our discipleship stuff, who's been, we can't say who all, but he's been a ghostwriter for some major Christian publishers for years, and so letting him use his talents and kind of figure some stuff out has been really cool. And it's good that he's getting their credit now for all of the amazing work he's been doing for the last several years.
That's good. I know on our Instagram page we have actually a schedule of the live Wednesday morning discipleship programs, and also if you're not in the area, you can tune in on Instagram. We do it live. We have like
I jump on that a lot.
4 up to like 500 people. I think.
Yeah, I jump on that all the time on a Wednesday morning before Mass.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
So also check out Little Cattle Co. It's a Texas beef company I'm a partner of.
Get that beef.
Yeah, dog. Our website is littlecattle.co. I know you've ordered.
Well, I want to talk about that. I have something very important. I told Lucas I was going to say this too. I had ordered some steaks, from Little Cattle Co. And it was the first time I had ordered from you guys. And of course, because I know you were friends, I decided to support you guys, try to put the kids through college. Between that, all my Origin gear and the Jocko fuel, and but the
there's an issue with shipping, right?
UPS messed up the shipping. They delivered it several doors down from the church. And because I live at the church, and I got the thing from UPS. It was delivered. I'm looking all over the place. Where's it at? Where's this? I have a buddy that works for UPS as senior manager. He's like showing me he sent me a text where it said it delivered, and the guy put the address where it was supposed to, but then delivered there. Next day, midday, it gets to the person's house. Must have seen it, brought it over. Everything was spoiled. And I sent JP a text, and it was not Little Cattle Co.'s fault. Didn't matter. Extreme ownership. He's like, it's in the mail. And that goes to tell you the integrity of this company. So I'm not getting paid for this. There's no stake in front of me. This is just me saying that's a company that I want to do business with, and so should you. So
I appreciate it.
Order some.
It was cool because when you sent me that text, I text Steven and his wife Amanda, and they were like on it. Yeah. Like it was like an instant thing.
Well, it was like cool. I mean, I wasn't even at home at what point you're like, boom, it's in the mail.
Yeah. We appreciate that support. I know you also support Primal Beef Company, who Sean Stokes, one of our Echelon Front instructors, he's a partner in that with Jocko, and for you to give us that support as well, we really appreciated that, and we still do. We have a website that you can order beef tallow beef sticks from. So right now, whatever's on the website is what we have. We have paused the beef sales as we are refocusing and structuring on a few things on the business side. So if you want some of that Texas beef, I would get on that website before it's all sold out. Not sure how long we're going to pause that for, but as we're working through just some restructure, focusing on the tallow sales, building out that line and the beef sticks. So we have, different beef tallow body butter, tallow cream, lip balm, which is incredible for your skin, for your body, for your health. The beef sticks are incredible.
They're great. I have one in my suitcase.
Yes, that is awesome. So if you want to, you can also be a wholesaler for those. So if you have a gym or a business that you want to be able to resell those things, let us know. You just send an email to amanda@littlecattle.co. Also, On the Path Printing is an apparel printing company. I'm a partner with Josh Strasburger. You can send us a message at On the Path Printing. Let us know if there's anything that you need apparel printing wise. If we can't do it, we'll help connect you with a company that can. Bruiser Arms. You guys need to check that out. It's a company Jocko Leif and I have. Just send us a message on Instagram. Send me a private message. Working on a couple different partnerships with some different companies in the industry for gear packages and also custom training packages. I love it. I was talking on our last episode about my buddy Ryan Bates, one of my Frogman brothers, has a really good partnership with Noveski. And so we're talking about creating some custom Bruiser Arm Noveski rifle setups with Vortex optics and a few other custom some custom. Man, I can't say too much, but it's going to be awesome when we release it. You'll see it'll be on Instagram. I had a call with him this week about just some stuff, and it's freaking incredible.
Nice.
That's all I'll say.
I'm still offering to store prototypes.
Yeah.
If you need me to test anything out,
test them
just
out,
let me know.
That's one of the things I think I want to put together like a range day, and we just, have people come out, test the products, review the products, test the training. I think that will be fun to be able to do.
Let me know, because Shepherd's got to protect the sheep.
My man. Also want to thank Origin and Jocko Field for all the support they've given over all the years. What they have done is absolutely incredible. If you want to get some of the best jiu-jitsu gear and just regular clothes that are made 100% here in America, go to originusa.com. Then make sure you go to jockofield.com to check out the supplements, clean energy drinks. Father Stokes, again, thank you for your time. What you just said before I started reading all this stuff was an incredible final closing thought. So you can reiterate that or share something else. But I just want to say thank you for what you do, your friendship, and just your continued support of Echelon Front, and more importantly, the mission of Echelon Front, because you are an ambassador of Echelon Front, of Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. You're out there, you're putting in the work, you're building relationships, you're daily exemplifying these principles to help people become better versions of themselves, and that's what it's all about.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm a better person, a better priest, a better person, not only from being a part of Echelon Front, but from you, JP. I'm going to tell you what I told your kids when I met them the first time at muster, is that your dad's a hero of mine. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Jesus Christ is the best example of being a mission-oriented person in the history of the world. We are called to be mission people, to get out there and help each other out. It's not about me. It's not about you, JP. It's not about Lucas. It's about all of us helping each other to get to heaven. And if I can do that by being a better pastor and taking these lessons and bringing them back, and you can do that through Echelon Front and through your other ministries, and Lucas can with his family through his ministries, then I think we're making the Lord proud. And that's the least we could do.
I agree. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you. Lucas, appreciate you as well. I hope this episode has been a reminder for our listeners to go out there, to do the work that's needed, to put in the effort, to build your legacy, and to never settle. This has been the JP Dinnell Podcast, episode 75.